Cognitive load. Sounds rather heavy, doesn't it? Well, it's not. I think academics just like to use complex terms to describe stuff. Perhaps it's an occupational hazard. To begin with, let me pose a few questions. How many vegetable sandwiches can you eat in one meal? What about pizza slices? How many of those can you eat in a single meal? Do you think a child will be able to eat the same number of sandwiches as an adult? Can you eat an entire cake or a full pie in one go? Do you think an athlete's food intake will be similar to yours? Hope all these questions on food have not made you hungry. That wasn't the idea. The purpose of these questions was to highlight the fact that there is a limit to how much we can eat, and that our capacity to eat depends upon factors such as age, exercise regimen, and the type of food. Just like our stomachs have a certain capacity for food intake, it seems our brains too have a certain capacity for information intake. The term cognitive load is something that describes the brain capacity. What is cognitive load? The effort required to process new information by our brain is known as cognitive load. This processing of information is done by our working memory. In other words, working memory is the memory we use to hold bits of information for a short duration. High cognitive load requires more working memory resources. But working memory is limited in capacity. It cannot hold too much information. Therefore, high cognitive load impacts the learning process. What factors impact cognitive load? Two factors impact it. One, content complexity. Some content is inherently complex, and its very nature places a load on working memory resources. Two, learner profile. If the learner is a novice, inherently complex content can create a cognitive load. However, the same content may not seem as difficult or complex to an intermediate or advanced learner. What makes content complex? High element interactivity makes content complex. Element in the academic sense is defined as anything that needs to be learned and processed or is already learned and processed. It refers to the logically related elements in learning material. Since the elements are related, they must be processed simultaneously in working memory. These elements need to be connected by the learner in order to develop a deep understanding of the subject. Content with a high number of interacting elements tends to be complex and high on cognitive load. Intrinsic load. Suppose you have to solve a mathematical problem as displayed here. In this example, all the numbers are elements. The brackets are also elements. In addition, the symbols for basic arithmetic operations such as addition, multiplication, and division are elements too. This is an example of high element interactivity, and it represents what academics call intrinsic cognitive load. Most mathematical problems involve a high intrinsic cognitive load. These problems require that students recall multiple elements of information, integrate this information, and then process it to solve a problem. On the other hand, subjects such as history and languages may not have as high a cognitive load as mathematics. You may manage intrinsic load in many ways. Breaking up the information into logical units is one way to achieve this. An important point to remember about intrinsic cognitive load is that it can vary depending upon learner expertise. A problem may seem simple for teachers because they're experts. However, the same problem may seem way too complex for the students because they are novices. Extraneous load. Extraneous load is another type of cognitive load. It is created by the format that is used to present content while teaching. Format refers to how text and visuals are organized in learning material. In this example, the diagram is separate from the verbal explanation. This splits the attention of the learner from the diagram to the text and causes a cognitive load which can be avoided. Hence, this is extraneous cognitive load. Here is a better way to present the same diagram. Flashy videos, decorative images, screens cluttered with too many icons and text all add to the increase of extraneous load. In fact, if not considered carefully, such strategies could hinder the learning process. Anything that does not directly contribute to the learning process must be carefully considered because it has the potential to increase extraneous load. Germane load. The third type of cognitive load is germane load. Germane load refers to activities required of a learner that facilitate learning. It is the load that helps learners to make connections and build mental models that will help them to solve problems. For instance, using the mnemonic BODMAS helps students to recall the correct order of mathematical operations to solve a problem. Providing worked samples is also an example of germane load. What does this mean for instructional designers? Well, as instructional designers, we must be mindful of cognitive load and work towards managing intrinsic load, reducing extraneous load, and increasing germane load. Thank you, and here's hoping that when you design learning material, you give careful consideration to the cognitive load theory.